Hello and welcome to Cindershadow Gaming. I'm your host, Cindershadow, and today we're going to talk about the recent rulings that came down for Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the like. Well, there's been a big development story. You're probably going to hear about this a lot, and I just wanted to throw out a little bit of thoughts of what's going on here. We've got this all started with the presidency and all this other stuff in the States. I'm Canadian, so it's not a big deal to me. I don't care who political states, all this other stuff. But this ruling that's come out has implications of a very snowbally effect, and I just want to kind of voice a little bit of opinions on it. This isn't my typical style of video. I'm trying to stay out of the political sphere, but this ruling has implications that could create a very interesting scenario to play out within the space of online and the internet and everything like that. And I think it's important because of that to cover it. Now, back in the first days of the Trump administration, there was his Twitter. He was posting a lot on Twitter, and then there was a lot of talk that he wasn't allowed to block people because people need the discourse against him and all this other stuff. And a court came down ruling saying that he was not allowed to block people on Twitter, and same with a lot of other political figures. Now, through over the course of the next few years, that ran its course, and now we're into the next presidency. And it's really strange that all of a sudden this ruling is now coming out. They've now turned around and reversed the decision of that ruling originally, saying that he should have been able to block people because he was not the government entity. And Twitter had relatively no right to say he wasn't allowed, even though now that he is completely blocked from the platform and has been removed. But this new ruling that's come down has really had a surge. It's kind of creating a lot of talk, a lot of things, and now they're possibly seeing that Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, any other of these large online platforms, much like what you're doing right here watching this channel, could be at risk of it becoming a utility. And that is something that is quite frightening, as in, and quite interesting at the same time. I know recently within Canada, I think it's within the last 5 years, they deemed that the access to the internet was a basic human right. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone gets them at the same time. Water is more important than the internet when it comes down to it. Having a place that you can live definitely is more important. And I know there's communities in Canada that still are without water, and that is a travesty when it does come down to it. And honestly, there's a lot behind that, and there's a lot of give and take that's happened with that, and I honestly don't understand the full capability of those communities being without water and why it takes what it takes. It's an interesting little conundrum that I don't have anything to do with, but at the same time, I really do feel for the people that don't have that basic right of water. And now there's talk that Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube can possibly become more of a utility. So, like having power or the internet that you guys are watching me on right now, or having the gas to your home to heat your home, they're talking that Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Google, whatever platform is, would be regulated like a utility. And if they made them a utility, there's a lot of bad things that could really come along that. You would either get a public utility or a private utility. And here in Alberta, we deal with a lot of private sector stuff going on because we've been under a conservative style law for, it was 40 years with a brief reprieve for 4 years, and now they're right back to conservative, even worse than ever, in my opinion. But now we have the possibility that these utilities would be a privatized utility. And if they're a privatized utility, then they can sit there and start charging whatever they want for you to access their services, much like we do with Netflix and Disney Plus and all these other streaming apps, much like you getting a VPN, paying this money out month after month after month. And now we're looking at possibly YouTube or even accessing these sites, even though the internet is the utility side of things. These sites could then become a utility within the utility, which is really strange in my eyes. How would this work is the way I question it right now. Would you then be paying a surcharge to your internet service provider for you to have access to Twitter? Because that is what it's starting. That's the road we're going down right now. A lot of people are saying that this is opening up censorship and it'll get rid of censorship. And the way censorship is happening within the space of these these entities, it's really we're only really hearing a lot of times the one side of the voice, and I personally seek out both sides to hear both sides in a lot of cases, and I do try to stay an informed voter, and I still try to be a person that can sit there and look and judge and think things are one way or another. And like I said, my political leanings aren't really tied to anywhere. I don't really see one side better than the other. I see a lot of things wrong with either side of the coin. And I really do wish the coin could stand on its edge some days, where we could all come together and actually come up to agreements instead of always bickering and fighting and having these conversations that just don't go anywhere, and having the unimportant thing of one person's more evil than the other. It's not a way of living your life, and it's not a way of really taking in a lot of the social media that's out there. I wish for the day that I can just sit there and watch cats and dogs videos and not have to worry about anything else in the world. But the real world does exist, and we all pay our bills. We do things very, very neat and tidy as much as we can, but it's a very sloppy place, the world. And if we don't watch ourselves, things are going to get off the rails very quickly. With how this new ruling coming down, it's overturning one and doing this and stuff like that. There was a lot of things when it comes to American law that I just don't understand, because I'm Canadian and I'm not subject to the same amendments or constitution that you guys have. We do have the Canadian Charter that does ensure that we do have freedoms, and that's what we abide by as much as possible. But I've seen things go up and down. I've seen things going in a direction that isn't always subjugated to being open and free, and that's part of what's the problem that I am seeing with today's world, and why I've made this video today is there is a lot of things wrong that I do see, and I really wish that we could turn around and go back to like the 90s, when people didn't care about your leanings or didn't care about who you were and everything like that. And now it's as simple as you've got to be involved so far deep that you need to pick a side, and I refuse to pick a complete side. I don't think either side is indicative of the other, and I think that there is a problem with the systems that we have set out in front of us. And as much as I like to disagree, at the same time I agree with a lot of other things. It's just the way things go. Now, this new ruling is really going to set up a precedent and change the face of what we know for the internet. And I think we've gone through a bit of a reckoning here in the last 5 years with the way the internet and how things have evolved in such a way. And I personally want to be able to still be able to sit here, make these videos, and talk to you guys and have a community. We just did a giant community thing last night where we played Among Us for almost 3 hours straight, and it was absolutely enjoyable. Every single person that was in there, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there, because it was something that was great. But if this goes through the way things are headed, we're not going to be able to continue things like that for very long. And we're going to see more service fees, and we're going to see costs increase to an astronomical place that no one will recognize what we've accomplished as the free world, and doing things together to make the internet open and free, and being decisive, and being agreeing and disagreeing and everything like that. So going forward, it's going to be very difficult to see these things get taken away and swept up into a cost of being able to speak online. It is very nice that we do have these opportunities going forward with YouTube and other social media platforms where we can be open and free and kind of speak our mind, even though some things have been deemed unfavorable at this junction. And that has really been what has brought this forward. This is unfortunately the seeds that have been sown is going towards a disagreement that could have absolute bad effects and catastrophic things to the internet, and I hope it doesn't get to that point. And I just hope that we can all just get along and actually talk and speak our minds and do things the proper way. Anyway, guys, just a little bit of thoughts. You know, it was something that came down, and I really wanted to record it, and I hope you guys don't mind this for a type of content. It's just something that was at the back of my head and picking on my mind, and I figured, you know what, let's talk about this. I'm going to throw it out there and see what you guys all think about it. Let me know down below. Do you guys have anything? You know, I do try and stay out of the political sphere and try and stick to gaming. It is more of what I am. It's who I want to be. I want to be more of a gamer. But the recent dealings that we have seen in the world has really come to question the way things go forward. And like I said, I want to be an informed voter, but as an informed voter, I don't see where my vote counts on either side right now. And it's going to be very interesting to see what comes down in the next 5 years on top of all of this. Thanks for watching. You guys don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next time.